info at apatmedia.com. That's A as in action, P as in production, A as in always, P as in perfection. Again, that's info at apatmedia.com. Welcome again, and how are you doing? I am Sharon Thompson, host of Speak Harmony, and here's my beautiful co-hosts,
Sharon Reed, the Heart Lady.
Sharon and Sharon.
There we go.
Beautiful day.
All right. So how was your weekend? I know you had a busy one.
Excellent. Oh my God, it was busy party. I mean, I celebrated birthdays and fun days. I mean, we had a great, full weekend.
You went
full
to the
weekend.
Grove Conference, right?
Oh my God, that Girl Conference was amazing. Word of Life International Church of God. Pastor Hanson and the crew.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, what a beautiful day. And then we celebrated our sister, sweet sister, yes, Michelle. And then Sunday. Sunday was Atlanta Jamaican Association Fun Day. It was fun. And food.
Yes.
It was really awesome. So we had a great
full
weekend. I'm tired.
Tired. Okay. Well, we
So,
keep you up.
Yes, talk to me.
Today, I always have to talk about the national
Yes, tell us.
day, and it is one of the national days because they usually have a couple of them, right? So
Yes.
it's IT Professional Day.
Ooh, did you hear that, Mr. P?
IT Professional Day, and it's celebrated on the third Tuesday of each September, and it was established early, 2015, not too long ago.
Joking?
Yeah,
Really?
right, and it's in honor of the information technology professionals who do the critical, but often, and this is so true, unseen is behind.
Yes.
Like how we never get to see Mr. P because he's always doing the IT work,
yes.
right? But it helps to keep our networks running.
It
And
does.
this is a day to really say thank you. So
Thank you,
show
Mr.
your
P.
appreciation for the dedication of your IT professionals who quietly keep everything running. So I got a big shout out to my son, Isaiah Reed.
Here we go.
You got a shout out to Mr. P.
Oh man, Mr. P all day long because he is that humble, when I tell you, still voice and powerful person, production team right back there. I mean, he's quiet. He's not out there showy. But let me tell you, whatever he does, mic drop. Literally.
All right.
I mean, he does it. He does his thing. So thank you, Mr. P, for all you do.
Yes, I have another shout out for one of my other personal IT colleagues, Stephen Burks, who always, anytime I have a computer issue that I need to do right now, he's there.
See?
So,
And
all
James,
right.
James, let's shout out James while we're shouting out because James is Michelle's son. Oh my God. And he is, so there are a lot of IT gurus around us. I mean, there are a bunch, and we could just go on and on, but we don't want to hold out on
That's
what we have
right,
going
that's
on
right.
here. We want to get into it, jump right into
So,
it.
back by popular demand.
Yes.
Attorney Patricia McKenzie Edwards, she was with us a couple of weeks ago, and we really talked and learned a lot about estate planning.
Yes, ma'am.
And it was so nice we had to do it twice.
Yes.
And today we get more of her expertise, and we're going to chat about mediation and the importance in law and in family disputes. So without further ado, let's welcome Attorney Patricia McKenzie Edwards. How are you, darling?
Thank you. I'm fine. Thank you so much for having me back.
Yeah,
Really
you are so
appreciate it.
welcome. So very welcome. So who do you want to shout out? You heard us shouting out our IT folks. I know you have some.
Well, yes, of course. So first, Brandon at Brandon's Cloud. He is integral in my practice and keeping my stuff running smoothly. And then, of course, Bruce McKnight, who's also got his own IT, company. And he's also, just really integral in all of our lives, helping us with IT stuff. So
Beautiful.
want to shout him out. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
The unseen, but the real, if we wouldn't be seen.
Absolutely.
Right? We would not be seen if it was for those.
Absolutely.
All right.
So
we're going to talk about mediation.
yes, of course.
Would you give us the definition of mediation, broad sense?
So broad layperson sense, mediation is where two parties go in front of a neutral, the mediator, and talk about their issues, and the mediator helps facilitate, hopefully, an agreement, right? And that's basic It's very informal. Most of the time, these days, it's conducted via Zoom with the ability to set up breakout rooms, private rooms where people can talk and feel comfortable speaking to someone and not have to worry about the other person hearing or responding immediately. So it's a very, very useful tool.
Interesting. Well, can you just walk us through the key stages, like mediation sessions? I mean, what does it really look like?
So it can look different for different types of disputes, right? So you can mediate anything from workplace disputes. Sometimes, your HR department might call in a mediator to kind of work out something between a boss and someone who reports to that manager. So sometimes you have workplace disputes that mediators deal with. You have your automobile accident cases that are mediated sometimes before a suit is filed by agreement, sometimes after a suit is filed, but before discovery. There's all types of scenarios. Most of the time, I'm mediating family law issues, right? So these are divorces, modification of custody, modification of child support. Sometimes you can have a contempt issue depending on what the issue is, and that will come to mediation as well. Some jurisdictions require mediation for all of their family law cases. And some jurisdictions don't, but they will certainly send certain cases to mediation depending on the issues that are presented. So you can have just about any form of a dispute going to mediation. The process, if you're ordered or you just want to mediate and by agreement, the parties come and they select a mediator by agreement and they come to mediation, the mediator typically doesn't know very much about the case. Depending on the complexity of the case, you might get some documents ahead of mediation and you read through those and prepare. But most of the time, especially in family disputes, to preserve neutrality and make sure that there's no appearance of bias, mediators do not review any documents ahead of a family mediation. Yeah. So you come to mediation, you don't know anything about your case, right? And so you're hearing the issues, and the experienced mediators will know coming into a divorce there are 4 major issues, and then they're going to try to identify which ones are going to be the hot topics, which ones are going to take more time, et cetera, at the beginning. But basically, the basic process looks like this. You spend time hearing from the plaintiff, then you hear from the defendant, and then you start getting offers, and then you start helping people work through. So you might help someone work up an initial offer, and then you help the other party work up a counter offer, or, so you go through the process that way. So typically a divorce, probably 3 to 4 hours minimum before you feel like you're getting some headway. And then, you keep working through. Sometimes you can reach a partial agreement. Sometimes you can reach what we call a temporary agreement, and I can explain what that means later. And then hopefully, I would say probably 80% of the time I'm typing up a full agreement. And the full agreement, depending on the circumstances, is going to be a binding agreement on the parties, right? So depending on the circumstances. So that's kind of an overview of the process.
Right. So before we get a little bit more into mediation, because it sounds a lot like what I do when I'm counseling my clients, married couples. What's the difference between mediation, litigation, and arbitration?
Right. So mediation is a process where you engage a neutral to kind of help you reach an agreement if possible, or at least work through some of the issues. So mediation can be employed inside of a litigation or outside of a litigation, right? So it's literally you have a dispute, you can't figure it out, and you want someone to help you figure it out.
Okay.
That's mediation. Arbitration is sometimes in certain contracts, especially nowadays, you are probably agreeing to arbitrate an issue if there's something. In my fee agreement, you're agreeing to arbitrate if there's an issue regarding fees. In a lot of contracts now, you're agreeing to arbitrate. What that means is that you're going to an arbitrator, and you're going to submit to that person for a decision on the issue. So that's very different than someone facilitating an agreement. So the arbitrator is hearing from both sides, reviewing evidence, and making a decision. Whether or not that's a binding decision is going to be determined by that arbitration agreement that you sign, that the parties sign, right? So sometimes people will elect to do binding arbitration even inside of a divorce. They'll choose to do that. Or, if they can't get on a trial calendar for another year or two, they might choose to use an arbitrator. So these are tools that they're called alternative dispute resolution tools. Basically, you can choose to mediate to resolve your dispute outside of litigation. It's a litigation tool. I've used it routinely as a litigation tool. So most of the time my cases settle at mediation, but that's because I did a lot of work to get to that point. Sometimes you can use mediation to see really what the issues are. What are the things that are really causing, the friction in the case, or the real hot buttons, so that you can get down to the nitty-gritty and maybe adjust your strategy for your litigation, right? And then arbitration is just another alternative dispute resolution tool. So
So you said they could do both. Does the mediator and the arbitrator, do they confer about the one case?
sometimes they are the same person, right? So I have cases where parties will agree to go to mediation, or they're ordered to go to mediation, and then they mediate, they reach an agreement, but then there might be something where, like personal property items, or how long to move out of a property or something like that. And if they can't, maybe that's something that they're going to work out with their attorneys. That's what they agree to do. But then if they can't reach an agreement on that, then they agree to come back and arbitrate that issue. That's one way that, yeah. So it can be the same person if that mediator is also an arbitrator. But to answer your question a little bit more pointedly, the mediator does not testify. Once the mediator is finished mediating, the notes are destroyed. The mediator is not a witness in your case. The mediator is not an ongoing professional in your case. Oh, wow. The mediator is not involved in your litigation. It's not involved. He or she is not involved in your case outside of the day when she sits down with you.
Then that's it.
Sometimes you can agree to continue the mediation because, we have complex cases that may take long, may take a day or two. And so sometimes that will continue, but the mediator is not consulted in between. The mediator is not brought in. No, the mediator is strictly a neutral. It's like you go to court to try your case and you go in front of the judge. You're not consulting the judge outside of that, right? So it's similar.
Yeah. Interesting.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Man. So the role of the mediator, I hear you, but I still see where you're neutral, as you said. You stay there, and I mean, once you're done, this case is over.
For me.
Right.
For me,
You're out of this. Okay. Hypothetically speaking, do you have cases where when you say it may take a day or two, but then they're complex cases? Because I mean, not every it's not one size fits all.
Right.
Because I mean, you have cases, in divorces, they're not amicable.
No. Well, if they're not amicable.
Oh my God, exactly. And I say, for the most part, people just say, you know what? Especially men, they will be like, listen, it's cheaper. What do they say? It's cheaper to keep her. But guess what? It's easier to just not fight.
Right.
Just
give her whatever she wants.
Yeah. Let her go. I just don't want to be. Yeah. And I want to get on with my life because you know what? 9 times out of 10, he's probably waiting to get married. I'm just saying. It's
happened.
I've heard cases like those. He's ready to move on with his life. And wife number 2 over here, or 3 or 4, whatever it is waiting to say, you know what, just get rid of her, cut clean. I'm just saying, just seal the deal, go about your business, never to see you again, done. And I'm going over here and I'm going to live my life. Now, I'm sure in cases like those, it's almost cut and dry. But then you have other cases where people just get downright nasty, and they want, because I heard of a situation where divorce was over, but then the father died. The father of the
Like the father-in-law died?
father-in-law passed, yes. And what she decided, she didn't know that at the time. So what she did, the ex-wife did, she says to her attorney, hey, go check things out over there because I heard my ex-father-in-law, my former father-in-law passed. That case was closed. They got divorced in November. He died in December, not even a month later, just about. And she says to her attorney, go check with his attorney because there may be some stuff that I
may have inherited some stuff and she wants some of that.
Yes, and she wants some of that. She was serious about it too. And so her attorney consulted with his attorney, kind of sort of reopened or investigated, if you want to say that. And to her dismay, and his too, because that's when he realized that he was disinherited.
So both of them didn't get it.
Both of them got shot. So
Oops.
So his
left that
father,
alone.
nothing. So it was
That's
egg
funny.
on her face, but it kind of sort of egg on his too, because he, at that point, realized that his father said, but he had told him when they were getting married 20 plus years ago, he says, if you marry her, that's it. You better listen when your parents speak, because guess what?
Wow.
Sounds
That's
like
it.
a movie. I've
It
heard it.
does, right? And that's exactly what happened. It's a real story,
Yeah.
real story.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm very close to it. I know about it.
So what happens
So
if he was inherited and came in with
and
a lot of
that
money?
was my question.
Would,
What would happen in that case?
So that's legal advice, right? That's for your attorneys to advise them on.
so it
I
goes
don't
past
have
mediation, goes past
So-
arbitration?
Some of those things might come up in mediation, but that's not something I can advise them on. What I do is I ask hard questions. So they might be talking and saying, well, what about the inheritance? And if they're both represented by counsel, I would say to the attorneys, well, what about the inheritance? Is that something that we're discussing today? And let them figure it out, because that's not my job in that moment. So at the beginning of every mediation, we go over what are called mediation guidelines.
Gotcha.
And those have to be signed before I start. And they basically talk about what mediation is, my qualifications as a mediator. We'll talk about what I expect: good faith negotiations, open and honest communication, sharing of documents, that if we sign an agreement that it'll be binding, except if they're not represented. There's a few days. They have a few days to have it reviewed by counsel, et cetera. So, we go through all of those things. But one of the key things is that the mediator is responsible for making sure that the parties that are negotiating or participating in this process have the ability to make decisions for themselves. And even though they're represented by counsel, I'm still paying attention to capacity to make the decision, because at the end of the day, it's technically a contract, right? And so I'm doing that, especially where I have a party or both parties that may have had a history of being a domestic violence victim. I'm domestic violence certified, so I especially check for capacity. I probably do it a little bit more. I pay attention a lot more when the person has indicated that there's been some issues of domestic violence. So we're constantly checking capacity, but capacity is, so if I see where someone might be saying, you know what, I don't want anything, I have the ability to either shut the mediation down or ask some really hard questions about why they are wanting to just give away everything. Without giving them legal advice, I can ask questions to kind of, it's called reality testing, but in that particular case, it may be more than that, right? So you may have a situation where a female who's from a different culture, and that may be how they're kind of sort of how they were brought up, or in their culture, that's what's supposed to happen.
Right.
And, or the father might have told them to do that or something like that, you know, and
Influenced
so,
in another way
yeah.
that they
Yes.
respect that authority or
And
afraid, right?
But in our
Western
legal system and in our culture, that may not be equal to the proper capacity to enter into an agreement. And so I may make the decision to shut that mediation down. So even in the case of the gentleman who is just wanting to, and that might be a different situation. He might be like, look, I just really want my peace. So I might have a conversation with him as well about, you know, what that really looks like, and talk about what life after you do that is going to look like. You know, where are you going to live? How are you going to afford to do these things?
Yes.
And ask those really hard questions. And so that might get a different result when you start asking those questions. But I am not giving legal advice. I'm not giving financial advice, and I'm not giving tax advice.
I see you are making sure that you stay
you
within,
stay within your
You
guidelines.
do.
Yeah.
You do. We're permitted to probably state or, you know, state what the law says in certain situations, but I try not to do that too much. But I ask questions and I have conversations, build relationships with the people that that I'm mediating with. And that's really important to me, to build that rapport and hear from them. Because I think a lot of cases can settle if the parties feel like they're heard. A lot of times the conflicts continue because no one is listening.
Yeah.
And so if someone can listen, you can get further than if no one listens.
Absolutely.
I do think mediation is an underutilized process outside of litigation. And I think more co-parents, parents who are post-divorce or maybe they were never married, I think they should be utilizing the mediation process to resolve conflicts more.
Yeah.
It just makes sense because that's actually what married people do, is they sit down and work things out and reach a compromise, right? Our daughter wants to do cheerleading. Well, I don't want her to do cheerleading because those skirts are too short. Yes, but she really wants to do cheerleading, and here are all the benefits of cheerleading. Well, how can we reach a compromise on how she can do that cheerleading? Well, maybe if she wears shorts underneath the short skirt, then I would be okay with that. Well, okay, we can buy some biker shorts, and that solves that. That's essentially co-parent mediation.
Yes.
It's trying to figure out what's the common ground that's still going to get the child to do what the child is really interested in doing, or what is in the best interest of the child, not what is best for you while you have the child, or best for you, the other person, while they have the child, but what is really best for the child. And so I do think that it's an underutilized process in that scenario.
Interesting.
Yeah.
How do you know how do people, because is it
That's what I was
something-
gonna ask.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I've never, I mean,
They
I've
can
heard
just
of mediation,
they can
but I'm
just
saying-
book with me on my website, right?
So
And
whether they're married or
whether
not.
they're married or not, if you're raising a child
Yeah.
together and you feel like there are, like, someone's moving and you need to work out a new parenting schedule, that's a good opportunity to come to mediation a couple of hours, and we can get a new parenting plan in place for you, and then perhaps provide you some guidance outside of that on how to go ahead and get that.
And you use the terminology binding. So that means once you come out of mediation and you've made that contract,
So here's
what
the
Can
thing.
it be broken? And what happens if it is broken?
If there is no litigation
Okay.
and you come to mediation and reach a new parenting plan, or some new arrangement regarding your child, that has to be formalized with the courts for it to become a binding order.
Okay.
Yes.
Correct.
Right.
So there's, I can provide what that process might be, or give you some guidelines as to how to go about that. But if you are inside of litigation, you really should consider doing a mediation, whether it's a divorce or a modification of custody, a parenting time issue, whatever, because it's a less combative way to resolve a dispute that's going to affect a child.
Right.
And the more you might think that going to court, it really won't affect the child because the child won't know. But the problem is that the angst and stress that it causes,
Yes.
the children absorb it, whether you talk about it to them or not.
Energetics.
And-
Energetically.
Energetics, yeah,
And
yeah.
the decisions that you make impact them.
Yeah.
So if you can find a less combative, less litigious is the word that we use more often, way to deal with these things, I believe that it would be better serving for our families.
So, Sharon, I'm thinking, and Pat, I'm thinking about those that have children, the baby mama, baby daddy type thing, right?
Yeah.
And then they don't know their rights or even have heard of mediation.
Yes.
And so it sounds like you're saying, before you make some emotional decisions, see a mediator, and they can just look one up and find the best fit. How does that go?
If you want advice, you need to seek legal counsel.
Correct.
But even after seeking legal counsel, once you try, okay, so now the legal counsel is telling you this is the path. You've retained counsel. Don't rule out the impact of mediation even in that process. Or you could go and get legal advice, find out what your rights are, come to mediation, work it all out, formalize it, and then go back and file it with the courts or go to legal counsel and say, okay, this is what we came up with at mediation. There are different ways of doing it. I understand that there are complexities or certain issues that might arise because, if they might agree to mediate, but then they don't really want that to be binding, so they go to their attorneys and they get different advice and whatever, and that kind of blows up. And that's why I think get advice and come back and mediate. But there are people out there who have divorce decrees, they have children, and they have parenting plans that are already in place. And then 2-3 years go by, 5 years go by, the children are grown up, situation's different, one party's moved, and they need to formalize a new parenting plan. You don't have to immediately go to court and fight over that. You can literally just mediate a new parenting plan and then go formalize that with the courts.
Yeah, that's good information. So what happens if you come to an impasse? And
you come to an impasse. It happens. Sometimes you're mediating too early. In a divorce case, sometimes you can mediate too early. And what that means is you don't have enough financial documents, you don't have enough financial information. That's typically the reason that you're mediating too early. I mean, it's never too early to know what parenting time you need to have for the children. But it's sometimes too early to know how the assets should be divided or what amount of child support should be paid or if there should be any alimony paid by by one party. So if you don't have enough financial documents, then you might have mediated too early. And so then you need to make some decisions. Sometimes in custody cases, you can end up mediating too early because we can get to mediation and realize that maybe you need a guardian ad litem or maybe we need to employ some family therapy before we decide on how custody should be permanently played out. And so you can actually come to mediation and we can have real conversations and you realize that, you know what, I think this might be best. And so they'll agree to appoint a guardian ad litem and agree on certain terms regarding that.
So as a mediator, you may suggest that?
Yes,
Okay.
I have. As recently as last week, suggested that in one of my cases that, maybe it's not the right time to try to negotiate a parenting plan. You guys may want to have you guys considered a guardian ad litem for this case. And you do so in such a way that you're not, I prefer to do it in such a way that I'm not mudslinging for each party.
Yes.
Because I think that's more harmful than helpful. And so I make the suggestions based on what I'm hearing, but I don't necessarily do the mudslinging. So I may, make some comments that kind of summarize the sentiments in the other room, but I don't always say every single thing, especially if I don't think it'll be helpful. And so I do think in selecting, when you're mediating or, your mediator should be someone that you think is going to be able to build a relationship, but also understand domestic cases in such a way that they're not really propelling the fight, but rather really helping the parties find a peaceful middle, some balance to it. Yes.
So we're approaching that minute because we've got a minute to go before we take a break. We're going to take a break, but when we get back, there's some questions that are bubbling up in my mind and my thoughts. So, yes, we're going to go to a commercial break right now. We're going to go ahead and do that right now. Thank you so very much, Attorney Patricia McKenzie Edwards. Yeah. And listen, this weekend, I mean, let me tell you, Atlanta is really, as they say, hot Atlanta.
Yes.
This place is
Jumping.
crazy. It's jumping, Sister
Yes.
Sharon.
Everybody's busy. Social
Everyone's
calendar
busy.
just
Oh my
stacked.
God, I'm like, Jesus.
I need a moment.
Yeah, me too. I mean, seriously, I just need a full stop, a pause, because right now we've got up there on our calendar, we've got a big international cultural festival coming up this weekend, among other things. It's live music and dance, authentic cuisines, cultural exhibits. There's going to be a kid-friendly zone, and so it's one festival, many cultures, one love, one nation, and it all takes place in South Fulton at Wilkerson Mill Park. So that's 8095 Wilkerson Mill Road in South Fulton, Georgia. It's this coming weekend. Oh my God, on the 20th. There's at least 4 other things going on, guys. So it's Councilman J.C. Sebastian who's presenting the International Cultural Festival. And it's going to be really amazing. So go ahead and register and get going. It's one culture. They say it's one Caribbean divided by water. Okay? And then true. Manchester, where you're at Manchester High School.
My dad's alumni high school is having an event on Sunday at 2:00. I think it's at 2:00 as well.
It is. And there's something else. I know there's Sister City. I mean, let me tell you.
I remember when they said, boy, nothing happened with Georgia, you know. But
oh my gosh, what?
I can't say that anymore.
No.
Can't say that anymore.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's totally not boring anymore.
No, it's not. It's a hot spot. But let me tell you, talking about a hot spot, while you were speaking just now, Attorney Patricia, let me tell you, my mind was just going because I like to refer to real cases, not just hypothetical. I mean, there's some, but there are 2 attorneys, and let's just say there are 2 powerhouses right here in Georgia who have one little daughter, 10 years old. I'm not taking sides. I'm looking at the big picture, and what I see is the young lady, the attorney, the ex-wife, is a sweet, mellow, super laid-back, almost boring person, like just chilled, super chilled. And he is telling her, "You're not taking my daughter out of state." I mean, he's nasty as they come. She ran into him recently with someone else. He was in the company of a female. And what's happening is that this 10-year-old is going through. I mean, because she is like, I go over there, but he says all these nasty stuff. He's just so mean. And he says these things about you, mommy, and comes back to her and she's going, "Don't worry about it, honey." And I'm thinking, no, I want to scream when I hear stuff like that, because I'm like, you don't do that to your child. She's 10 years old. What you're saying to her, it's okay. So you're finding excuses for him. Find a mediator. Find someone that you need, that you can talk to, and get this thing resolved. Don't be, and I'm sorry, I'm going to use that word, be a punk. Don't punk it out, because what you're telling that 10-year-old, that impressionable mind is, it's okay to deal with bullies. I mean, bullies are who they are, so don't pay them any attention.
Is that what she's doing, though? Or is she trying to be the parent that doesn't add to the stress the child is
You know what?
experiencing?
That probably is it. But
mediator
still, that's the
in
mediator in her. That's why you have that job and I don't. Because when I hear stuff like that, I'm going, oh my God.
Very, very, very hard. It's a very difficult position to be in. So, So you really have to wonder. It's easy, it's so easy for us on the outside to judge the person
Right.
going through that. You never know.
Yeah.
That might be her way of not adding to the stress
Confrontation, just being, just saying.
of the child.
Yes, of course.
It might not necessarily be how she deals with him. I don't know, but as far as
her
the
child,
child
you're
is,
saying.
she shouldn't be. I don't know.
But
But in a mediation setting, it would just really just be a question. Is that because he might say, well, blah 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 blah, and I might say, well, is that really what she's doing, or is there some other reason she could be saying something like that? Or I just questions, right?
How old is too young for a child to really speak up? Because a 10-year-old, I don't know. I don't have children, so I would assume that a 10-year-old is old enough. Maybe not. Maybe not.
Under the law, a 14-year-old can elect, but the court doesn't have to adapt their election. It just depends. It has to be in line with what the court believes is in the best interest of the child. A child who is between the ages of 11 and 13 can say what they would prefer, but again, that's not an election, and also the court's still going to make a determination of what's in the best interest of the child. In my opinion, depending on the age of the child, it is best to have a guardian ad litem in those situations. And this is me speaking as an attorney. I wouldn't be giving this advice as a mediator. It's not my place. I might say, I might ask, have you guys considered having a guardian ad litem appointed to hear from the child? Because if everybody's saying, well, the child said, and it's two different stories,
That's right.
then
That's
someone
right.
needs to be talking to the
Stepping in.
child directly, and the only person that can do that is really a guardian ad litem.
Interesting.
Because the attorneys can't do that, and the courts are hesitant to do that because it causes so much trauma for the children. So, it really just depends on the situation, and, that's also part of selecting someone to be that mediator to kind of identify and ask some of those questions, understand what questions to ask to get to the root of why dad may be saying things like that. Sometimes it's literally just your mom's moving because she doesn't want me to be in your life, but that's not necessarily the case, right?
Yeah, she's probably moving to get support because she wants to be around, family or whatever, to get that kind of who knows?
Correct, but is that in the best interest of the child? So that's also a question, right? Because do the children need to be around both parents? Do both parents get to pour into that child? So it's really a very difficult thing that needs to be talked out. And is there a compromised position, right? So, yes, dad might not want her to move, but he might work as an ER doctor where he's on, working really long hours and he can't help, right? So it might be better, but then the situation might be totally different too, right? For mom might be the one working long hours and wanting to move because, but is that really in the best interest of the child?
So is that something that where it may now judge? It sounds
At
like it's
what
moving
point?
into, is this a fit parent, and how does that determine?
Well,
So it sounds like it's
possibly,
moving in that way.
right? There's still things that we can talk about as far as whether or not there is a way that we can get to a compromised position. The judge is going to make that determination if you really want it to go in front of the judge. But if the parties, if they're one parent's moving to Tennessee, to Chattanooga, and the other parent's remaining in Atlanta, that's a 2-hour drive. We can find a compromise somewhere there, potentially, right? That's easier to find a compromise than if they're moving maybe to California. But then again, it's going to depend on a whole lot of facts and circumstances. We're going to talk about jobs. We're going to talk about child support. We're going to talk about travel expenses. We're going to talk about, who has the ability to care for the child. We're going to talk about fault if it's a divorce. We might talk about a whole lot of these things.
Yeah.
The
A
statute,
lot of variables.
Yes,
right,
a
the
lot of
statute
variables.
has 20 something factors when determining what's in the best interest of the child. Right.
Wow.
So we're going to talk about all of those things inside of a mediation. My role, I'm asking questions. I'm not making any decisions, right? But I can ask certain questions to kind of get movement.
So this is what I call shared decision making, in
Well,
a sense, where you're not making any decisions. You are giving suggestions. You are showing different perspectives.
I don't
No?
I'm not a decision maker at mediation.
Right. So I know. So that's what I'm saying. You are not making the decisions, I should say.
Right.
The individuals are making the decision,
Right.
and then based on what they say is what you're putting.
Is what I
into a
write into an
contract.
agreement and
Yeah.
they sign.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So you talked about a 10-year-old. I get a lot of clients who they have a younger one. And then what's happening a lot of the time, one parent will keep the child from the other. They're not married. Is that something they would go to mediation for? Is that something
Potentially.
Really?
The interesting thing with the unmarried parents who were not married, before the child was born and never got married. So that child is technically not the legitimate child of the father under the laws of the state of Georgia.
Wow.
Even if the birth certificate says so.
Correct.
Okay.
So the complexity there is that father doesn't really have any rights. So in order to come to mediation before a court case is filed, mom would really have to agree. So if they're wanting to mediate parenting time, they can certainly do that and reach an agreement on parenting
Stop that right
time.
there. Stop right there. Stop right there, please,
So,
and repeat that,
Attorney
because you just blew my mind.
Patricia McKenzie Edwards says that in the state of Georgia, if you're not married, dad doesn't have any rights to the child. So then dad has to seek legitimation before the court. That's regardless of whether or not you signed the birth certificate.
That's key.
right.
Because a lot of them have that false narrative.
Yes.
So I needed
But
to hear
there are
that
a lot
from
of
lawyer.
unmarried parents who agree to parenting time despite there being no legitimation order. And that's their right to do, that's mom's right to do that. She, and it's certainly going to be better for the child,
Of course.
if that's done. So they can mediate parenting time and they can mediate whatever they want. That's not going to be a court order though, right? It's just going to be an agreement between them.
Would that be a written agreement or just a verbal agreement between
It would be a
them?
written agreement.
would
If
be a
you're,
written
I would
Okay.
write up an agreement regardless of whether or not there's a court case. I just think that's best practice.
Yeah.
But if there is no court case and nobody's, we're not agreeing to go submit an order, then it's not going to be an order.
Right.
Right? So if someone wants to enforce something later, they're going to have to start at ground zero. So, but yeah, they don't have any rights. So, but they're certainly entitled to mediate, any issue. The issue with, I don't do consultations for mediation because I have to maintain neutrality. So if they're wanting to book a mediation, they need to already agree that they're going to use me as a mediator. That would just be my preference. I can do a 15-minute call and talk about my qualifications,
But you're not going into the
but
case,
I
okay.
can't talk about the case because then that's going to conflict me out and I can't give you legal advice or anything like that. So the best case scenario is they agree to have me as a mediator, they go online, they book the mediation, or they call my office and book a mediation, and then I come to mediation and we talk about the things. I'm really efficient at understanding what the issues are within a very short period of time and then being able to move it. So, but it's helpful. But the co-parents really need to consider, even as they're divorcing, consider using mediation as a tool before they file modifications. Because I do think that sometimes the simple issues of working out a new parenting plan gets really exaggerated in a litigation scenario. And modifications, I think, cost way more than regular divorces, frankly. So, yeah.
Interesting. Man, it's so much more complex than
Yeah.
we really, honestly, I mean,
Yeah.
when I tell you I'm blown away, I thank you. I appreciate you.
My
for
pleasure.
Just to be able to share this, because there are a lot of people who are watching and going, what?
Right. And so I really want to say that even if you're inside of a litigation now and you're just like, I want to go in front of the judge, if your attorney's suggesting mediation, use the process, because even if you don't reach an agreement, you're going to learn a lot at mediation. That's only going to be helpful for making decisions about how far you want to go if you have the bad facts, or whether or not you want to settle now, or whether or not you want to settle later, or what document you might need to get to just kind of clear things up so that you can get to a settlement. So really consider employing the process, because it is really helpful. It's a very, very good tool. I firmly believe in it. When I litigated family law exclusively, I settled about 90% of my cases.
Oh,
man,
good. That's
awesome.
beautiful.
Yeah.
I wanted to go back to Sharon, legitimization.
Legitimation.
Say it again.
Legitimation.
Legitimate. I was thinking there was a Z in there. So legitimation. So is that something that you would suggest or is a good thing to do? Because I know you don't want to give enough.
So, Attorney
Yes.
Patricia McKenzie
Thank you.
Edwards believes that if you are an unmarried father, that you should be filing a petition to legitimate the child as soon as possible. The longer you wait is the harder it could be. Now, of course, if you and mom have a great relationship, I mean, that's only going to probably solidify it. And then there are some, you're probably exposing yourself to other things like child support if you file it. But if you don't, the child really is not entitled to inherit from you, and you're not entitled to inherit from the child. And there are so many other legal ramifications of not doing it.
Really?
Yeah.
I was thinking about that because, in Jamaica, there's this big thing where the child is not the father. You got like a woman who has multiple children and find out that the father is not the father of any of those children.
So that's a paternity issue.
That's
a paternity issue.
So would that go along with?
So if you have a doubt you're certainly entitled to ask for legitimation and paternity. So then there would be a paternity test before the legitimation case would move forward. And certainly entitled to do that. But only a father can bring a legitimation case. A mother cannot file that.
Wow.
A mother can only file child support and paternity, right? So that's how you can get child support in the state of Georgia without legitimation.
Say that one more time.
Child support can be ordered without a legitimation order having been entered, right?
Yeah.
So mom does not have standing to bring legitimation. Only dad does.
Is that bias in any kind of way?
I don't know. Maybe talk to your legislators about that. I think that Georgia is probably I don't know the numbers, but I know that there are several states that have changed that. So
interesting.
Very interesting. You know what? And I'm glad I don't have a son or anything. I'm just saying, because, for all intents and purposes, it's tough.
yeah,
Because, how this is your child. This is your child. But here it is. You pretty much have no say-so unless you're, you legit. You're a legit.
legitimated,
And,
right?
Yes. And so,
Yeah.
goodness gracious, man.
Sounds
drama.
like get married.
That part.
Maybe you have more rights
it's
get married.
crazy.
That's interesting.
You're better
so
off.
this whole family dynamics is interesting. It sounds like you have a lot of passion
She
working
does.
with that.
You do.
What
I
really
do.
inspired
And
that?
it takes, yes.
So, I think for me, I saw mediation as just a really wonderful tool inside of domestic cases. I've always thought, there's a way that you can resolve these disputes without going to court. Okay. Some people are able to sit down independently, husband and wife, mother and father, and just work it out.
Yeah.
And that's great. But most people are not able to do that for varying communication issues, right? Or maybe there was some domestic violence in the relationship, or just whatever the issues are. And so they just need someone to kind of facilitate that, and also maybe have the added protection of an attorney on the other side too. But having practiced for so long and having practiced in family law, and I see the toll that it takes going to trial is very, very, it takes a large toll on individuals when they're preparing for trial. And it's a very foreign process, a trial. You probably only want to experience that one time, frankly. And I see the stress that it causes, and it's also very expensive because it takes a lot of time for an attorney to prepare for trial. You have to understand the sequence you're presenting your evidence in. You have to understand the sequence of testimony. And if you have witnesses coming in, you have to understand that. Witnesses have to be subpoenaed. And, there are all these moving parts. Preparing for mediation is sitting down with your client and going, these are what the numbers show. This is what you're currently doing as far as parenting time. And this is what the child support calculator says. And then this is what the analysis is for alimony. And we work out all of that. And we talk about what's your ideal outcome, the middle ground, the bottom, and then, figure out how it's going to move. And then we go to mediation and we talk with the mediator about it. Now, as the mediator, when I'm the mediator, I can tell when parties have done that work, right? At least it's always fruitful when you do that work. The negotiations move. Parties you see the movement to the middle, which is a wonderful view for me because I don't have to be the one advocating. So, and so it's a really fulfilling. And I believe that parties leave there. Now, it's stressful when you're in it because there's a point in every mediation, especially when you're actually making headway, where it starts moving really fast, right? So it's like the minor issue here and the minor issue here and the minor detail there happens most mediations, and it starts moving very fast, and that can feel like someone is pumping air into your brain, right? When you're the person that's making the decisions or having to move fast, and so it's an endurance thing too, so. But I think that it's like the best tool. So when they leave, they're usually pretty relieved. It's over most of the time, right? So, did I answer your question?
You
I hope
did. The
Wow.
therapist in me, hearing some of the things and the stress, and you're talking about, wants to ask you, how do you debrief after complex?
But you know what? She's Miss Chill though. I
Yeah,
look at
all
her
the
and she's
time.
like
That's what I'm
Miss Chill.
seeing.
Like,
I'm
Yeah,
calm most of
really.
the time, but I do absorb the stress. And then so after a long day of mediation, I just go eat and sit down and watch some TV.
I love it.
Go eat dinner with my husband. But as a litigator, sometimes my mediations would be 12, 14 hours. Yeah, I've had those. It happens, right? Since I've been mediating, I think my longest was about 9.5 hours so far.
So that's a full day, or is that 2 sessions?
It's a full day.
Full day.
really?
Yeah,
And so you go say, let's have a break, go ahead, get something to eat, or you go straight through?
I go straight through.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah, you go straight through. I don't take any breaks. So that is definitely a bit, you learn how to do that over time, right?
Yeah.
But no breaks. You might get a break to go to the restroom or,
Right.
Parties are encouraged to have lunch while I'm in the other room, right? So I'm in the other room talking to one party, the other party should be eating and doing their breaks. And then if someone kicks me out, I use that as an opportunity to take a snack. But no, we don't take
So you
breaks.
said party, so you see one and then the other, and
Usually-
then together, or?
Never together in domestic cases, sometimes together in civil cases if they're okay with it, but never together in domestic cases.
Interesting.
Yeah, you just manage the conflict a little better that way.
Yeah. Because you know what? Yeah, because the emotions are flaring. Whatever. So you just want to.
Yeah.
And I can see why.
Yeah.
Give us a scenario of one of those times where you went in and you just thought, I got this in the bag. I mean, this one's a done deal.
No, because she
Never.
doesn't review the
Never.
information.
But I'm saying that you.
You mean as a
you go in
mediator?
As a mediator, you go and you talk
Oh.
to this party and you talk to the other party and you go in and you're going. I mean.
No, I mean,
this is
I
supposed to
don't
be-
think.
this is supposed to be. This is it. This should be it.
Now, I've been doing this long enough to know that it's never a done deal until it's signed.
Really?
that's right.
Wow, man.
It's never a done deal until it's
Goodness
signed.
gracious.
Sometimes you get really close and then the rug's pulled.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. It's never a done deal until it's signed. Sometimes, you kind of have an idea of whether or not it's going to move. And other times you're like, okay, this is really going to be me working today. Right. So, and you can do the work and get close, but not close enough because there might be one little detail, or you might realize when you get to one particular issue that it's really too early and they're not willing to do partial because they have to be willing to do a partial. So, but yeah, so I never think it's a done deal until it's signed. Yeah.
Wow.
It's just probably just better to not have that expectation. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's experience though,
This mediation, though, both of them have to come on the same day?
Oh,
Or
yeah.
Oh, they do. So
So
that
they
shows
come
an
in on the same
agreement.
day, they
Okay.
sign guidelines electronically.
Okay.
They're admitted into the Zoom waiting, the main room,
Mm-hmm.
and I put everyone in their own breakout room for the
Got
day.
it. Okay.
And then I move back and forth. If I need to caucus, like if I have attorneys on both sides and they need to discuss a legal issue or something like that, I have a room for them. I'll put them in there and go in there and let them talk, whatever. But no, I go back and forth between the virtual rooms. But even in a in-person mediation prior to COVID, because we really never did them on Zoom until COVID, yeah.
Really?
So even then, we would have separate conference rooms,
Yeah.
and they would go back and forth between the rooms. Sometimes we would start together and then go, split up.
Yeah.
But it's been a while now. I think most practitioners do not do. We do not have all parties in the same room. Yeah.
So even with once you've reached the agreement and getting ready to sign other parties together at
No.
that, really?
It's signed electronically too.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think
See.
that's good for
Well, we've only got a
audience to
few
hear.
minutes to go,
Yeah.
only a couple of minutes to go. Are there any final words, any final thoughts, in this whole process? Because we could just go on for another week and
So-
still not
Yeah.
get our heads totally, we've covered a lot.
Yeah, so I just think that I just want to reiterate that the mediation process is underutilized for co-parents. And I think that's the main thing I wanted to get out tonight. But also, if you're in the middle of litigation and your attorney suggesting mediation and you just don't see the point in it, understand that it's not just for you to go and give up. It's really a place, a day for you to do some work and try to reach a compromise. Compromise doesn't mean that one person wins and one person loses. A compromise means both parties get a little bit of something and they get to go away and the litigation's over and you haven't spent the time, the emotional turmoil and the money, right, trying to get to a trial, because that can be very expensive. So I think, it's an underutilized tool, and I'd really like to see it used more, especially by co-parents.
Well, I think you will.
Of course.
After
hope so.
this
Of course, after
interview,
oh my goodness.
you've highlighted some really
I hope
key
so.
things,
Yes.
and I think it's so important. I did not realize how important and the role that mediation played, particularly in family dynamics. So
Yes.
that is really
Yeah.
great.
And it's good that we,
Absolutely.
we're getting this because
Yeah.
how many people knew that? I'm
Yeah.
sure there are tons
Right.
of us that had no clue.
Right. There are several people when you say, I think the next step in your case is to mediate, and they're like, what is that? No, I don't want to do that. I just want to go in front of the judge. And then you have to spend a little time educating on what that is. But besides choosing to mediate, preparing for mediation is critical. Just walking into mediation
This is good,
with
yeah.
2 pieces of paper is not helpful, right? You've
Okay.
been married for 25 years. You really need to have a picture of what your marital estate looks like, your assets, your liabilities, your income. All of that is going to be important. Don't snuff that process. It's really important. So it may be best you come into the litigation. This is a divorce. You start your divorce case. You do discovery. Discovery is important because you need to know what financial assets and liabilities and income there are. That's really the main point of discovery, most of the time anyway. You get that and then you mediate because that's where you're gonna have the information you need to make the major decisions for the rest of your life, right? Because you're really planning for the next phase of your life. So yeah,
Wow,
the
thank you so
preparation is
much.
important. Yes, you're welcome. My
Oh,
pleasure.
there's Cherie. Oh man, our
dedicated
support.
people. Great
Yes.
information, Michelle
And
says.
Sharika says very
Sharika.
informative.
I love it. And you
Thank
know
you.
what? We're out of time. I just hate that we have to end because look, so please share with our audience again, Attorney Patricia, where they can locate you, how they can locate you.
Sure.
And we're just gonna
So thank you. I operate Synergy Law and Mediation LLC, and you can find all the information about me and my website at my website, synergylawandmediation.com. That's S as in Sam, Y, N as in Nancy, ERGYLAWANDMEDIATION.com. And I think he's got it up on the screen there for you. So thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank
very
you.
I appreciate you.
Yes,
Wow.
absolutely.
And so thank you, Speak Harmony family, for tuning in. And we want to thank again our sponsors, APAP Media Group, and to Heart Love Inc. Heart Love Inc. specializes in guiding clients through relationship drama and emotional trauma.
I love it.
Thank you for tuning in. Speak Harmony, building unity one voice at a time. And join us next Tuesday live here on YouTube, 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern, as we continue learning from our leaders and from those who inspire us to take action and purpose. Until then, keep speaking harmony.
Love it.
Yeah, thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
guys.
Thank you.
You're
We
my
appreciate
pleasure.
it.
My pleasure.
Meetings of the mind, where wisdom is shared. Tamara and Sharon, a duo prepared to light up the path, to bridge every gap. Access meets opportunity, there's no turning back. Forward with fortitude, the future's in sight. Together we rise like stars in the night. Authenticity reigns, love leads the way. We're speaking in harmony every single day. Speak harmony, let your voice intertwine.